Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio Ian Cameron Sports Report for Tuesday, December the 1st. That's right, we have reached the final month of 2020, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be a year that, probably for all the wrong reasons, we're not going to forget anytime soon. But here we are, 1st of December. It's going to be a quick show today. We're going to recap Monday Night Football, and we're going to look ahead to the rescheduled Wednesday game that we think in the NFL is finally going to happen. Pittsburgh and Baltimore. It's already been moved twice, and will it get moved again? We'll have to wait and see, or move three times rather, from Thursday to Sunday, now to this Wednesday, and we'll see if this game finally gets played. But we'll preview Ravens-Steelers Wednesday afternoon NFL football, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. How about that? Hopefully it's a better football game than what we saw last night. Seattle and Philadelphia. Wow. That's the best word I can come up with to describe the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, Doug Peterson thought what Anthony Lynn did Sunday from a play calling and game management perspective was pretty awe-inspiring, because he pretty much followed that Anthony Lynn, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing blueprint to a T last night against the Seahawks. Just awful stuff from the offense. Not really a whole lot of play calling that made sense, particularly in certain situations of the game. Don't ask me why you would run a screen pass on 3rd and 30 when you're down 2 scores with a minute to go. But in the world of Doug Peterson, that made sense last night in that game. But the bottom line for the Eagles is the same issues with the offense. The offensive line was bad again, and Carson Wentz was not very good. Although, again, I say that it's part his fault, part the fact that his offensive line has got him so freaked out and so panicky in the pocket right now that he just can't sit there, be calm, be poised, find receivers down the field. He is rushing his throws. He's pulling the football down and taking more shots. He's just totally flustered right now at this point in time. And he has been hurt significantly by a really bad situation around him in terms of the offense. You know, right now, Philadelphia is there with Chicago and some of these other teams in terms of just how bad things are for them on the offensive side of the football. Their skill position group clearly has been overestimated by the GM, because he thought this was a talented skill position group. They're not. They're not good. And they don't have a lot of depth at wide receiver. They don't have a lot of depth at running back. They don't have a lot of depth. There are not a lot of bona fide superstar weapons for Carson Wentz. You factor that in, combined with this horrendous offensive line. And yeah, Carson Wentz is not good, but boy, has he ever been put in a position to fail with just the lack of support around him. So there's blame to go around here. Absolutely there is. You know, we saw Jalen Hurts for a couple snaps in the game last night. That didn't help. I give the Eagles defense a little bit of credit because they hung in there and they did their best to hold Russell Wilson and the Seahawks in check. But unfortunately, the offense at some point had to hold up their end of the bargain, and they just couldn't do it. And Seattle ends up getting the victory. Although, bad beat alert, if you were late to the Seattle Seahawks party, and first of all, it's your own damn fault if you lost with the Seahawks, because if you're laying 6.5 with Seattle on the day of the game, when about a week ago, you could have had 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, even 6 to get a push on that bet, then it's hard to feel as sympathetic toward you. I'm just being truthful. You know, that's bad betting practice. In a game that you could have laid as low as -3 on Seattle, you all of a sudden decided that, you know, day of the game, I'm going to lay 6.5 and take, you know, at least 3 points, the worst of the number. I don't have as much sympathy for you losing that bet. I just don't. It's bad, just decision making. You know, you've got to line shop better. You've got to time when you're going to bet the Seattle side better. And sometimes if you're going to bet, you know, 3 points, the worst of the number, you're going to pay the price for it. Sometimes you'll still win that bet. You'll get away with it. You know, laying 6.5 with Seattle in the game last night when you could have laid 3.5 last week, early in the week, had you bet it then. But a lot of times you're not going to get away with it. and you're going to come up short and it's just a reminder to everybody out there, and I know Teddy Covers is one of those guys that harps on this constantly, but it's right. Betting skills, and make sure you get good numbers as much as you possibly can. And if you had the ability to bet Seattle last week, then there's no reason you should have had -6.5 with them in that game last night. That being said, if you had -6.5 with them last night, it's still a pretty bad beat. Brutal way to lose, because Philly scores that touchdown on the Hail Mary deflection pass, and then all of a sudden they go for 2 instead of kicking the extra point, and you're still safe if they kick the extra point, because it would have been a 7-point Seattle lead. But they go for 2, and they get it to make it a 6-point margin. So if you had -6.5, you lose. That's real tough. But it's also a reminder, get your shit together and don't be laying -6.5 with a team when you could have had 3.5, 4. You could have had so many better numbers with Seattle last week. Just a reminder that long term, you're going to pay the price when you bet really the worst of the number to that extent. All right, so that is your look back on Monday Night Football. Let's look ahead. We've got Wednesday matinee NFL football, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time on a Wednesday. So 2020. I never thought I'd see this in a million years. A Wednesday afternoon, 3:30 NFL game. Here we are. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, the undefeated Steelers looking to stay undefeated against what's left of the Baltimore Ravens. We've got Pittsburgh -10, 42 the total in this game. And look, we know that there's 10 players, 8 starters on the COVID, actually 10 starters. It increased a little bit over the weekend on this COVID-19 reserve list for the Ravens. 4 players, we don't know who they are, but they came off the COVID-19 reserve list earlier today. We have no clue who's actually going to be available to play. Has Lamar Jackson been given enough time to be able to recover and play in this game? Last check, he wasn't going to play. It was going to be Robert Griffin III, slated to make the start at quarterback for the Ravens. So what exactly is going to be the situation in terms of the Ravens at the quarterback spot? We assumed early, initially that this game was going to be played Sunday. Then we thought it was going to be played tonight on this Tuesday. And now, of course, it got shifted again to Wednesday. And now we're left wondering, when the heck is this going to be enough time, rather, for Lamar Jackson to be ready and be able to play? We don't know that yet at this point in time. They've always talked about it like he's definitely going to be out for this game, but that remains to be seen what exactly we're going to see. He's still listed in most injury reports as out indefinitely. Mark Andrews, it is a long list of key injuries. Mark Andrews, the tight end, Lamar Jackson, the quarterback, Mark Ingram, of course, running back out, Pernell McPhee, the linebacker. We know Ronnie Stanley, the terrific left tackle, out. Derek Wolfe, defensive end, has been battling an illness. He's actually one guy that's looking like he is going to for sure be available and play in this game on Wednesday. J.K. Dobbins, another guy on that COVID-19 list. We just recently saw Willie Snead added to that COVID-19 list at wide receiver. So this is truly, and Jimmy Smith, of course, has been out for a while, the cornerback with an ankle injury, and he's questionable, but it's not COVID, it's an injury with him. It's just a ton of question marks going into that game. So I don't see how you bet a side in this game until you know who's exactly in. I certainly don't know how you bet Baltimore +10 until you know who exactly is suiting up in this game tomorrow. And that we don't know yet. For the Steelers, I'm not necessarily looking to rush to lay 10 with them because they've had their schedule altered. They've had their, practice routine, and they haven't played now in a while because of waiting to get this Baltimore-Pittsburgh game played. So is their rhythm disrupted a little bit? That's going to be the question. Pittsburgh, we know they've played very good football all season long. They haven't slipped up. They had the one close call against Dallas where you could say they didn't play all that great, but really outside of that, this team has been able to get it done, be methodical, be solid on both sides of the football. Their defense can get after it. That's a concern, especially with Baltimore's offensive line struggling a little bit lately. The offense with Ben Roethlisberger has been very solid, especially the passing game. It is concerning the Steelers are still having problems running the football. You would think at some point that's going to hurt them somewhere along the line. That when you're so dependent on throwing the football and you can't consistently get your ground attack going, especially now the weather's getting colder, elements are getting tougher outside, you want to have that ability to run the football and succeed and have success with it so that it's there if you need it. And the Steelers consistently this season have been one of those teams that has struggled to run the football and have success. They're not gaining a lot in terms of yards per game on the ground, yards per carry with James Conner at running back. And at some point, I think you might pay the price for that. Whether that's going to be in this game, that remains to be seen. You could say that this is definitely Baltimore playing their worst football at the worst time. They've got the COVID-19 cases that have all of a sudden led to this game being delayed for all these days now. Not a team I'm looking to back. It's just a question of, do I want to lay it with 10 with Pittsburgh here in this situation? I'm not sure I do. So it's going to be one of those games where maybe in game I see something that is worth betting. But pregame, nothing on the side in the total in this game. I would expect the Baltimore Ravens to really try to be methodical running the football with if Robert Griffin III is going to be the quarterback. If he is the quarterback, even if it's Lamar, but if it is Griffin III, he's probably going to be in a situation where he might have to use his legs a little bit. We know his legs aren't what they used to be, in his first couple seasons in the NFL with Washington, nor what they were in college when he played for Baylor. But this Pittsburgh defensive front is no joke. They are outstanding at collapsing the pocket. And whoever the quarterback is for Baltimore, assuming it's Robert Griffin III, he's going to have to be able to scramble at times. So maybe you look over his rushing yards prop. This game might be one of those games where the under might be worth a look. 47.5 is the total. 47 actually in some spots as well. I believe that's the total. No, where is the total? No, I'm looking at the wrong game. 42 is the total for this game. It's low, but I wouldn't trust this game to go over the total. I just don't know what you're going to get from the Ravens. I would think it's going to be a run-heavy approach from them here in this game as well. So I would lean a little bit to the under. I would look at rushing props for the Ravens because I think it's going to be run-heavy. They don't want Griffin throwing the football a lot. He may run it a lot, rely on the running backs. It's going to be obviously Gus the Polar Bear Edwards. It's going to take over the main running duties because it looks like Dobbins is out, and so is Mark Ingram. So you're down to Gus Edwards now at running back for the Baltimore Ravens. Maybe he's another guy that you could maybe look at in terms of rushing props in this game. But it's a really tricky game. It's, Pittsburgh's rhythm's been completely thrown out of whack at this point. They're certainly the much healthier team, certainly the team in the much better situation, but unfortunately it's priced like it. You're not getting any bargains here with Pittsburgh, and I cannot back and I will not back Baltimore. First of all, they're not playing well going into this game. They lost to Tennessee in overtime. They had a bad loss to New England. The offense is sputtering. Now they've got all these COVID-19 positive cases that have impacted their preparation. Think about the fact that they hadn't practiced at all leading up to this game. Not a single practice. They haven't practiced in weeks. And you're expecting them now to go to Pittsburgh and play a fluid football game with maybe half your team out or several, maybe key starters out. No, I'm not backing a team in this spot. No way. So for me, I'll tell you right now, it's either -10 with Pittsburgh or pass. And I'd just rather, I think, pass for making a game or making a bet rather before the opening kickoff here on Wednesday afternoon. But Wednesday afternoon NFL football, you can't script this shit. You can't believe it if you tried. That here we are with a Wednesday afternoon NFL football game here in the month of December. But welcome to 2020, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that'll wrap up this edition of the Pub Sports Radio Ian Cameron Sports Report for Tuesday, December the 1st. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow on Wednesday. On tomorrow's show, we'll get back into some college basketball discussion and analysis on the show. And we'll look forward to the first college football of the upcoming week. We'll look at Thursday's college football games. We have 2 Thursday college football games, and shocker, neither of them have been canceled yet. Louisiana Tech, North Texas, and Air Force, Utah State We'll look at both of those games on the Wednesday show tomorrow, so make sure you join me for that. And a reminder, as always, check out Pub Sports Radio and the Pub Sports Radio YouTube channel daily for tons of great content. Thanks for watching. Have a great Tuesday night. I'll be back with you tomorrow on Wednesday for another edition of the Pub Sports Radio Ian Cameron Sports Report.